the internet did not just break. It shattered like a cheap phone hitting concrete the second Karlissa Saffold decided she was done playing nice and went full nuclear on Chrisean Rock's fight drama. And when I say nuclear, I'm not talking fireworks. I'm talking full-on reality TV apocalypse with zero survivors. Because somehow, someway, a boxing match turned into a family war, a paternity investigation, and a public dragging session all at the same time. Like, how do we even get here? So boom, Chrisean steps into the ring, gloves up, crowd screaming, everybody expecting a cute little debut moment. And instead, what we got was chaos wrapped in confusion, sprinkled with controversy, and topped off with Karlissa sitting in the background like a reality show villain just waiting for her cue to go off. And oh, she did not disappoint. Because the second that fight ended, she didn't clap, she didn't congratulate. She clocked in for drama overtime, and somehow the fight wasn't even the main storyline anymore, nope. Because Karlissa took one look at the situation, spun the block, and said, "Forget the punches. Let's talk about this, baby." Yeah, you heard that right. We went from boxing gloves to DNA tests in under 60 seconds. Somebody call Netflix, because this is not a fight recap. This is a full documentary series, now Nevaeh. Oh, she got dragged into this like she was minding her business and suddenly got hit with a WWE chair out of nowhere. And her mom caught a stray so random, even the internet had to pause like, wait, why is this HE trending now? Karlissa wasn't just talking, she was airing out generational grievances like she had a folder labeled receipts ready to go. And the wildest part, Blueface hasn't even fully stepped in yet. Which means this situation is just warming up. Because if this is how it starts, then what happens when he finally speaks? Yeah, that's where things get dangerous. Now, to really understand why this situation exploded the way it did, you gotta rewind the tape like we're dissecting a crime scene. Because this wasn't just about a fight. This was years of tension, side-eyes, messy relationships, and unfinished business all colliding at the worst possible moment. And at the center of it all, the never-ending reality show that is Blueface and Chrisean Rock's chaotic universe. See, their storyline has never been calm. We're talking breakups that turn into reunions, reunions that turn into screaming matches, and screaming matches that somehow turn into viral moments within minutes. It's like every time you think things are cooling down, boom, another episode drops with even more drama than before. And through all of it, one person has always been watching, reacting, and sometimes inserting herself directly into the madness. Karlissa Saffold. Karlissa has never been the quiet, sit-in-the-corner type. Oh no, she's the type to grab a microphone nobody handed her and start narrating everybody's life like she's hosting a reunion special. And let's be real, she's been vocal about Chrisean for a long time. We're talking subtle shade, not so subtle comments, and full-blown critiques that had fans picking sides like it was the Super Bowl of family drama. So when Chrisean stepped into that ring, it wasn't just about proving something physically. It was about proving something emotionally to everyone watching. And let's talk about that fight build-up, because it was already messy before the first punch was even thrown. Social media was hyping it up like it was the main event of the century. Fans were arguing in comment sections like their rent depended on it. And every clip leading up to it felt like a teaser trailer for chaos. People weren't just watching for the sport. They were watching for the possibility of something going left. And guess what? It did. When the fight finally happened, the reactions were immediate and confusing. Some people were cheering, some were questioning what they just saw, and others were already turning it into memes before the sweat even dried. But instead of the conversation staying focused on the match itself, the narrative started shifting fast. Like, blink and you miss it fast. Because while everyone else was still processing the fight, Karlissa had already moved on to her next topic. And it hit WAY harder than any punch thrown in that ring. Enter Nevaeh, who, up until that point, wasn't even the main focus of the fight conversation. She was just part of the extended storyline, someone connected to Blueface's already complicated situation. But the second Karlissa opened her mouth and started questioning things, oh, Nevaeh went from background character to headline real quick. And not in a congrats, you're trending kind of way. More like a why is my name in this kind of panic. Because Karlissa didn't just mention her. She called her out, and not politely either. It was the kind of call out that makes the entire internet lean forward like, wait, did she just say that out loud? The tone shifted from commentary to confrontation in seconds, and suddenly, this wasn't about a fight recap anymore. It was about personal business being dragged into the spotlight with zero warning. And if that wasn't enough, Karlissa took it a step further by bringing up something that instantly raised the stakes to another level. The baby, yeah, that topic. The one that always turns a messy situation into a full-blown explosion. Because once the words DNA test enter the conversation, there's no going back to normal. You can't unring that bell. You can't pretend it wasn't said. It's out there now, floating across timelines, fueling debates, and giving everyone an opinion they probably shouldn't even have. The internet. Oh, it ate that up instantly. One side was like, she's just saying what everyone's thinking, while the other side was clutching their pearls like, why would she even go there? And then there were the meme pages because, of course, turning the entire situation into viral content within minutes. Screenshots, reaction videos, edits. It was chaos packaged as entertainment, and nobody could look away. Meanwhile, Chrisean's moment, completely overshadowed. Imagine stepping into the ring, putting in work, having your debut moment, and then watching the spotlight get snatched away by family drama before you even catch your breath. That's like winning an award and then having someone grab the mic to start a completely different speech. The focus wasn't on her performance anymore, it was on everything happening around her. And let's not ignore the timing, because that's what made it even more intense. Karlissa didn't wait for things to settle. She didn't wait for a calm moment. She chose the exact moment when attention was at its peak and dropped a statement that guaranteed maximum impact. It was strategic, whether intentional or not, because when emotions are high, reactions are louder. And she knew that fans started digging up old clips, connecting dots, revisiting past arguments. And suddenly this whole situation felt less like a random outburst and more like the latest chapter in an ongoing saga. People were saying this has been building, and honestly, they weren't wrong. Because when you stack history on top of fresh drama, it doesn't just explode, it erupts. And somewhere in the middle of all this noise, one question kept floating around like a cloud nobody could ignore. Where is Blueface in all of this? Because let's be honest, he's the one person whose reaction could either calm things down or send it into an entirely different level of chaos. And knowing his track record, nobody was expecting silence for long. So now, the stage was set. The fight was over, but the real battle had just begun. Lines were being drawn, sides were being picked, and the internet was locked in like it was watching the finale of a show nobody wants to end. And just when you thought things couldn't possibly get messier, the internet said, oh, you haven't seen nothing yet. Because the second those clips of Karlissa Saffold calling out Nevaeh started circulating, it was game over for any sense of calm. Timelines turned into battlegrounds, comment sections looked like war zones, and everybody suddenly became a full-time detective with a Wi-Fi connection and way too much free time. Because let's be honest, this wasn't just gossip anymore. This was a full-blown investigation in the court of public opinion. People were zooming into old videos, analyzing body language like they were FBI agents, pulling screenshots from months ago, and connecting dots that may or may not even exist. One tweet would say, she's telling the truth, and the next would scream, this is messy and unnecessary. Meanwhile, meme pages were having the time of their lives, turning the situation into viral gold like it was a comedy special. And then came the celebrity reactions. Oh yeah, because other influencers and personalities couldn't resist jumping in. Some were throwing subtle shade, others were straight up laughing at the chaos, and a few tried to act neutral while clearly enjoying every second of the drama. It felt like watching the Kardashians comment on a WWE match hosted by Marvel villains. Chaotic, theatrical, and completely unserious in the most serious way possible. But here's where it really took a turn from messy to downright explosive. Because the conversation shifted from "did you see that fight?" to "wait, is that baby situation actually being questioned right now?" And the moment those words started trending, everything escalated 10 levels higher. Because accusing someone of needing a DNA test in front of the entire internet, that's not just drama. That's a public trial. Now Chrisean Rock? She was caught right in the middle of this storm like the main character who didn't even sign up for this plot twist. Instead of celebrating her moment, she's now watching the narrative spiral into something. Way deeper, way messier, and way more personal than a boxing match. It's like showing up to a party and suddenly realizing it's actually an intervention. For you and the fans, oh, they split into teams faster than you can say viral. Team Karlissa was like, "She's just being honest. Somebody had to say it." While Team Chrisean was ready to defend her like it was a championship title on the line. Then you had Team "Why is Nevaeh even in this?" Just trying to make sense of how she became the center of attention without warning. It was giving Avengers Civil War. But instead of superheroes, it's social media personalities throwing words instead of punches. Meanwhile, every new post, every live session, every reaction video was adding fuel to the fire. You had people dissecting tone, analyzing pauses, reading between lines that might not even exist. One clip would drop and suddenly everyone's opinion would flip. It was like watching stock market charts up 1 minute, crashing the next with zero stability and maximum chaos. And let's not ignore the memes. Because the memes were brutal. We're talking edits of DNA kits popping up in boxing rings, dramatic zoom-ins with caption overlays, reaction clips that had nothing to do with the situation, but somehow fit perfectly. The internet wasn't just watching the drama, they were remixing it, turning real-life tension into entertainment at lightning speed. But while the public was laughing, debating, and sharing clips like it was content season, behind the scenes, the pressure was building. Because words like that don't just disappear. They stick, they linger, and they force responses. And everybody knew a response was coming. The biggest question floating around like a storm cloud was simple. When is Blueface going to step in? Because let's be real, he's the missing piece in this entire situation. His silence, loud, his next move, unpredictable. And based on his history, nobody expected him to come in quietly and fix things. No. People were bracing for impact, and just when it seemed like the chaos couldn't get any louder, more clips surfaced. Old arguments, past interviews, moments that suddenly felt way more relevant than they did before. People started saying, "Wait, this isn't new. This has been brewing," and suddenly, the narrative shifted again from random outbursts to long-standing tension finally boiling over. Even the tone of the conversation started changing. It wasn't just jokes anymore. It wasn't just memes. There was a layer of seriousness creeping in, like the calm before a bigger storm. Because once real-life relationships and real-life questions get dragged into public view, things stop being funny real quick. And here's the thing. Nobody was backing down. Not Karlissa, not the fans, not the internet. Everybody was standing 10 toes down on their opinions, doubling down with every new update, every new post, every new rumor. It was like watching a game where nobody wants to lose, but everybody's already in too deep to walk away. So now the situation wasn't just viral. It was evolving, growing, spreading, turning into something bigger than a single moment. Bigger than a fight. Bigger than a comment. This was becoming a full-blown saga with layers, twists, and no clear ending in sight. And just when people thought they had seen the peak of the madness, something else started brewing behind the scenes that nobody was ready for. And just when the internet thought it had already reached peak chaos, reality said, "Oh, we're just getting started." Because the aftermath of Karlissa Saffold's explosive comments didn't calm down, it evolved into something way more intense. way more personal, and way more unpredictable than anyone expected. This wasn't just drama anymore. This was a full-blown domino effect, knocking down reputations, relationships, and narratives one by one. Because now, the focus wasn't just on what was said, it was on what it meant. People weren't just replaying clips. They were dissecting intentions, questioning motives, and reading between lines that felt sharper than ever. Was Karlissa speaking out of concern? Was it calculated? Was it personal? The theories were flying faster than tweets, and every new opinion added another layer to an already messy situation. Meanwhile, Chrisean Rock found herself standing in the middle of a storm she didn't even fully create but now had to face head-on. Her name was trending, her fight was overshadowed, and instead of celebrating a milestone moment, she was now part of a conversation that had spiraled into something far more complicated. It's like winning a race but crossing the finish line into a completely different competition you never signed up for. And then there's Nevaeh, arguably the most unexpected centerpiece of this entire situation. One moment she's barely in the conversation, and the next, her name is attached to headlines, debates, and viral clips that won't stop circulating. And let's be real, that kind of spotlight isn't just uncomfortable, it's overwhelming. Because when the internet starts asking questions, it doesn't stop until it gets answers or creates its own. Now the real tension? It shifted toward one person everyone had been waiting on: Blueface. Because his silence had turned from mysterious to suspicious, from quiet to loud. Every second he didn't respond made the situation feel heavier, like a ticking clock counting down to something nobody could predict. Was he going to defend, deny, escalate? Nobody knew. But everyone was watching, and the longer things stayed unresolved, the more alliances started shifting. Fans who once stood firmly on one side started reconsidering. Support turned into skepticism. Loyalty started looking shaky. It was like watching a reality show finale where everyone suddenly switches teams at the last second, and you're left wondering who's actually telling the truth anymore. Even the tone of the conversation changed. The jokes slowed down. The memes got quieter. And in their place came deeper discussions, heavier opinions, and a growing sense that this wasn't just entertainment anymore, it was real life spilling into public view with zero filter. Because once family, trust, and personal matters get dragged into the spotlight, things stop being funny real quick. And here's where it gets even more unpredictable. Because now people aren't just reacting to what happened, they're speculating about what's next. Is there going to be a response video? A live stream? A confrontation? Or something even bigger that nobody sees coming? The anticipation alone is keeping this story alive, breathing, and constantly evolving. But the biggest twist? The realization that this entire situation might not end anytime soon. Because with this many moving pieces, this many voices, and this much history behind it, there's no simple resolution, no quick fix, no clean ending. This isn't a single chapter, it's a series. And we're only watching one episode unfold in real time. And somewhere behind all the noise, behind the opinions, behind the trending topics, there's still unanswered questions hanging in the air like smoke that won't clear. Questions that could either settle everything or blow it up even further. Because if there's one thing this situation has proven, it's that the real truth hasn't come out yet. And when it does, it might change everything. Now listen, if you made it all the way through this madness, then you already know this situation is not just drama. This is a full-blown reality show with no script, no filter, and absolutely zero chill. Like we really just went from a boxing match to family chaos, DNA debates, and internet detectives working overtime. And somehow it still feels like we're missing pieces. Make it make sense. So I gotta ask you, whose side are you on right now? Are you rocking with Karlissa Saffold for saying what others are scared to say? Or are you standing 10 toes behind Chrisean Rock like, nah, this went way too far? And what about Nevaeh? Did she get unfairly dragged into something that had nothing to do with her? Or is there more to the story than we're seeing? And don't even get me started on Blueface. Because that silence, yeah, that silence is LOUD. So drop your predictions right now when he finally speaks. Is he calming this down? Or is he about to flip the entire internet upside down again? Because based on history, yeah, I'm not expecting peace, but real talk, if you're enjoying this kind of raw, unfiltered, did that really just happen content, then go ahead and smash that like button like it owes you money. Hit subscribe like you're trying to secure front row seats to the next episode. And turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update. Because trust me, this story, it's not over. And don't be shy in those comments either. Go crazy, debate it out, drop your theories, your hot takes, your wild predictions. I want to see all of it. Just remember, this internet courtroom is always in session and everybody's got something to say, so buckle up. Because if this is how things are unfolding right now, imagine what's coming next. This is Celeb Sync, where the drama doesn't just trend, it takes over. Drama doesn't just trend, it takes over.